But more red flags that I should have realized. When we moved into this house, we borrowed $1,500 from my sister's dad, and I promised that even if it was only $10 a week, we would pay him back. And my boyfriend promised he would help me pay it back. And so before we decided to move out from his mom's house, we had talked about getting a PlayStation. I told him that I would buy us a PlayStation with my income tax. Well, that was before we decided to move. Okay. So things changed. We decided to move and we borrowed the money from my sister's dad so we could get a place quick. Um, because there was no way we were ever going to be able to save up the money. No way. Because he had depleted all my savings um, within 3 months. And we were living check to check and we're only paying like $300 in bills combined and made together like $1,400. So the rest of it was going, I don't even know where. Honestly, looking back, I don't even know where the rest of it was going. Probably to drugs and weed that I didn't know about. But so he agreed to let us borrow the money with the fact that we would pay it back. And I told him that when I got my income tax that I would pay him back. And my boyfriend agreed. I said, when I get my income tax, I'm going to give him all but a little bit of my income tax. And my boyfriend was like, okay, that sounds good. That way we can get a good chunk of it paid off. And he's like, okay. We agreed. So I had trouble getting my income tax. But when I finally got it, and I told my boyfriend, I said, well, we're going to have to take this to my dad. He's like, what do you mean we're going to take it to your dad? I'm like, you agreed that we would take this money and we would pay him. He's like, we're not taking that money and paying him. I'm like, yes, we are, because that's what we agreed upon. He's like, no, we agreed that you would buy me a PlayStation. I'm like, that was before we got the house. He's like, no, we agreed that you would buy me a PlayStation and that's what you're going to do with it. And I'm like, that was before we borrowed money from my dad. And now I have to pay it back. And that's what I told him I would do with it. And it turned into a huge argument. And I don't remember, he was driving stupid. He drove us back to the house. We got into it here. And then, anyway, we ended up at GameStop. And I ended up buying a PlayStation because I wasn't going to do it. It wasn't worth it. So then I would save up. I would, at one point in time, I had like $400, $500. Well, we got another job and I was making more money. And I had like $400 or $500 saved up. And he had no money because he always blows his money. He never has any money. Never has any money. But I was saving up money because I was going to pay my dad back because that's what I promised him I would pay him back. And my boyfriend would never help me. Never help me. It was always an excuse. He was always losing money, which found out later he'd been buying weed that he supposedly wasn't smoking. But I would save up money and then something would happen and I'd have to take all that money out and use it for something, bills or fix his car or whatever it was. It was always something. And he eventually, and I would, and it caused it to where I was uncomfortable going anywhere because I felt guilty. I felt ashamed because I had tried so hard, and no matter how hard I tried, I could never pay it back. I'd have $500, and then before I knew it, it was all gone. And no matter how much money I made, no matter how much overtime I made, I never could pay it back because there was always something. And then, eventually I would be like, eventually I remember bringing it up that I was like, we need to pay him back. You promised me you would help me. I need you to start helping me pay him back. I don't know how we're going to do it. I don't know what we're going to do, but we need to pay him back. He's like, we're not fucking paying him back. I'm like, I promised I would pay him back. He's like, I don't give a fuck what you promised. We're not paying him back. It's too late now. Because like 2 years had passed. And I'm like, so he never had any intention of paying it back. And it really hurt me because I had every intention of paying it back. But that, looking back, that explains why he never, like, all we had to do was $10 a week. $10 a week, that was $20 a person. That was $80 a month. I mean, you know what I mean? And that's what my dad said. He wouldn't, you know what I mean? Just pay me back what you can when you can. And that was, and that's all it was, you know what I mean? And he couldn't even do that. And that's like, you know, it's like now, it's like, this week he got paid early. And we have the light bill due. And he's completely fucking broke. Because he went and bought kerosene for the heater that he's so proud of. I'm so sick and tired of hearing about this fucking kerosene heater. So sick and tired of hearing about it. But he went and bought kerosene for the heater, and I told him that I would buy kerosene. You don't have to go spend $130 on kerosene. I'll buy some when I get paid, but I don't get paid every 2 weeks, so it'll be next week. So buy one, and then I'll buy another. It's supposed to be warmer this week. We're not going to need to run it. Like, I mean, I woke up this morning sweating. So, you know what I mean? We live in the South. We don't necessarily, there's no sense in you buying $200 worth of kerosene every fucking week. Like, we need that money for bills. But what does he do? He goes and spends he was bragging yesterday. We had Thanksgiving dinner with his mom and them that he bought $140 worth of kerosene. And I'm just like he was just hardcore bragging about all the stuff that he bought. And I'm just like, oh my God, I literally could have stabbed him in the face yesterday. But so then he went and bought Christmas presents for me. And he said he spent like $200 on Christmas presents for me. And I'm like, you know we were supposed to pay the light bill, right? He's like, I don't care. He's like, I want to buy you Christmas presents. And I'm like, our bills come before Christmas present. He's like, I don't give a fuck. He said, I wanted to buy you Christmas and kerosene, and that's what I fucking did. And I'm like, okay. So I'll probably be paying for the rent and the light bill all by myself, which means that I'm not going to have any money once again. Once again, I'm going to be completely fucking broke because that's going to take all my fucking check. And then he got a message yesterday morning, and this made me so fucking mad. He got a message yesterday morning while we were getting ready to go to his mom's for Thanksgiving. He got a message about his minutes were ready, and he's like, oh fuck, I gotta get minutes. They're gonna run out tomorrow. And I'm like, you didn't buy minutes? He was like, no, I didn't know I needed them. I'm like, we literally just talked about this 2 days ago, that your minutes would be coming up. We literally just had this conversation because his phone was acting stupid. And I was like, I told you then that you were going to have to get minutes soon. He's like, well, I don't know what day it is. I'm like, I told you then it was going to be soon. And I'm just like, and then guess what? No money. And I don't have any money. I'm broke. The only money that I got left is to go to my psychiatrist next week. Because I go to my psychiatrist before I get paid again. And guess what? That's going to be $80 because I got to put gas in my car. So that's all the money that I have. And then he was pissed off because he forgot to lay something out for supper and was blaming it on me. And I'm like, it's your turn to cook. You are fucking an adult. It is your turn to cook. You've been home all fucking day playing your fucking video game. I told him, I guess we can have Polish sausage, rice, and beans. And he's like, no, I'm not fucking eating that. And then I'm like, well, I don't know what to fucking tell you. It's either that or we're going to have to order out. And he's like, well, I ain't got no money. And I'm like, well, I ain't got no fucking money either. All the money I have left is to go to my doctor visit next week. So I don't know what to tell you. So we ended up spending $60 on food. That was Wednesday night because he didn't want to cook what we had at the house. He also got mad because I told him it was his turn to do dishes because he sat here all week last week and refused to help me out while I was having a rough week at work. He refused to do any like during the weekend. I do dishes all day, all weekend long. I cook all weekend long. I do breakfast all weekend long. So during the week when he's off for 4 days, I kind of expect the same, and I guess that's probably my fault because I expect the same knowing goddamn well what kind of a person he is and shouldn't. But it really pisses me off that how ungrateful he is. So after the way he treated me last week about doing dishes, I'm not doing it anymore. They will fucking sit there. So I told him, I was like, don't forget it's your turn to do dishes. And he's like, I'll do them. I was like, well, you better, because if not, they're going to sit here all fucking weekend because I'm not doing them. He was like, okay, fuck you then. And went in there and did the dishes. And I'm like, yeah, you goddamn right. You better go in there and do them because they will fucking sit here all motherfucking weekend because I'm not fucking doing them. And then he got up this morning and was in a pissy attitude. And I was trying to tell him about that I was having nightmares and stuff last night. And was trying to tell him about them. And he was being mean and pissy. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to say anything else to you. And then he got mad because he didn't have any clothes. He's like, I don't know where all my fucking clothes are. Well, he probably laying in the fucking bedroom floor. Where you fucking leave them? Or probably sitting in the goddamn floor in front of the washer because you can't do fucking laundry. You're a grown-ass fucking man. You've been here for 4 fucking days doing nothing but playing fucking video games. Why ain't you done some motherfucking laundry? I'm not. You're a fucking mother. I'm not doing it anymore. But he was just mad as a motherfucker this morning because everything was going wrong. And I'm just like, I'm not doing it. I got up, made you coffee and breakfast. I'm not fucking doing it. So I just sat here in silence and didn't say another motherfucking thing. And then the coffee cup he had was cracked. And he was trying to show me. He's like, you see it? And I'm like, I can't see it from back there. And I tried, I thought he was going to hand me the cup. He's like, I'm not fucking handing you the cup. I still got coffee in there. I'll hand it to you when I'm fucking done. I'm like, okay. So I just sat there and didn't say anything. And then he shows me whenever he gets done. I was like, because I said, well, so it could be the paint, because sometimes the paint on coffee cups like to crack. He was like, it's not the fucking paint, it's the fucking cup. The whole fucking cup's cracked. I'll show you when I get done with my fucking coffee. I'm like, but yet you. So there's this thing he used to like to say to me all the time that really used to really bother me. He used to say that he was a mirror. When he would treat me like shit, that was his excuse. I'm a mirror. I only do what you do to me. That was his excuse. That's what he said. That he only does what I do to him, and which is complete fucking bullshit. Because I was extremely good to him for a long time. I don't care what he says. We all have our bad days, and don't get me wrong. I'm sure I've been snappy and snarky and shit. And after dealing with his bullshit, I'm sure there's been plenty of times that I've come off as fucking hateful. You motherfucking right. And I'm sure it was well deserved. So, he developed this little phrase he liked to say all the time. I'm a mirror. I do what's done to me. And I'm like, okay. So, last night he was saying something about me being hateful, but he had been hateful to me. And so I kept saying, I'm a mirror. And that's when he wants to run his fucking mouth. And I snapped back, and he's like, I don't know why you think you can talk to me any way you want to. I started saying, well, I'm a mirror. You talk to me like that, I'm going to talk to you like that back. He's like, oh, now you think you're funny because you're going to take what I say and turn it back on me? Goddamn right I am. You can do and say whatever you want to. It's my fucking turn.